All right, hello everyone. I am your host, Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, and this is our 25th episode of Ladies' Night. You can catch us on Sox Populi, wherever you typically listen to your podcast, as well as on our YouTube channel, in case you want to see our beautiful faces, which I know you're going to want to see my guest today's face. So I'm thrilled to have our guest, Julie Swieca Gannon, back. This is the third time that we've had Julie on the show. We had her at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the season. So it's perfect to be able to kind of stitch it all together, all the things we've talked about. Julie spent roughly a decade at 670 The Score in Chicago. And so we are just delighted to have her back in chat. So thank you for coming back, Julie. Welcome back.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm happy to be a part of the silver show, the number 25.
Yes.
Anytime you need anything, if I see you pop up in my my X inbox, I'm always like, "Oh, yes, absolutely, yes, whatever you need." So I'm always so happy to talk Sox with you and to get to see you at the ballpark too.
Yes, it was so fun to be able to catch up in person. And if we don't get to do it this year, one more time, we'll definitely do it next year because I think we're in for some fun baseball next year. So hopefully we'll get to talk about that. So
Fingers crossed.
yeah, let's kick it off and just talk about, hey, what's been going on lately? What do you think of how the team has been playing on the field?
Oh, this last road trip was so much fun. And basically for the second half, they've had a couple blips, they'll come out on fire after the All-Star break and you'll think, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy how good they are." And then they'll stumble and there's a week where you just can't believe how bad they look. But if you look at what they did the last home game against the Yankees, which they won, and then going into the road trip where they played so well on the road at division foes. And I thought, you know what? This is what you want to see from this team that tells you they're going to hopefully be formidable next year against the division. I honestly don't think anybody in the division scares me based on how I saw the Sox play this past road trip. Like, hey, we got this. Our young guys are just going to be 1 year better next year, and look out AL Central. But that road trip was just so much fun. To sweep 4 in Minnesota, that
Yeah,
place has always been miserable.
nightmare, a total nightmare.
Yeah, it was worse when it was the Metrodome because that place was just like
Oh my
a
God.
tomb. But just the fact that they cannot win in Minnesota, and they did, and they swept 4 from your dreaded rivals. I heard Ozzy celebrating because he hates the Piranhas. Um,
Yes.
I felt so good, and then they come home, and you're like, "Oh, please just carry this momentum. Please just finish strong." And give everybody a reason to be excited about next year. And I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the the good thing was that they showed they could go toe to toe with the Tigers. And I think if anybody not scares us, but if anybody is intimidating in the Central, it's probably them, because they have a young, they have young talent. They have the Cy Young. I mean, they have some really good pieces too. So if anybody is, we're looking to who's going to be intimidating us as we're continuing, hopefully developing, it's the Tigers. And we went toe to toe. I mean, other than the Cy Young, right? I mean, and
Exactly.
most teams are going to lose against the Cy Young. I mean, that's why they're the Cy Young.
Exactly. I was like, thank you, Scooble, for wrecking our perfect road trip. But that was the game you kind of felt like, if we're going to
Yeah.
lose a game, it's going to be this one. And I can't be upset with them for losing to a guy who's so dominant.
Yeah.
But you're right. You look at the rest of that team, they've got some young players that are great. But the Sox show that they're not scared of this team. I would like to see them face the Royals again right now, because I feel like the Royals are a team that even when they're not good, they just have the Sox number. So I'd really like to see that play out again. But yeah, this road trip was great. And I can't say enough about the job that Will Venable's doing and the way the young players have embraced just getting better with each game.
And so when you think about, I mean, when you're looking at the first half compared to the second half, I mean, it's completely night and day. So like, what components do you feel are like the difference makers in why there is such a stark difference between how things started and how things are kind of wrapping up?
Well, it's so funny because the first half was all about the starting pitching. and
Yeah.
they couldn't get any run support. But that first month of the season, the rotation was great. And you just kept thinking, well, if the offense can catch up, they might win some of these games. And the offense got hot and the starting pitching fell apart. And they lost some of their starters too. Adrian Hauser, who they were facing tonight. I mean, I wanted to keep him. It didn't make sense to keep him, but he was great for the Sox. Martin Perez, before he got hurt, was pitching so well. So I kind of thought we'd have the offense going along with the pitching when things started to gel. And instead, they just switched places. I attribute a lot of the offensive success to Colson Montgomery, who, oh my gosh, God bless that kid for going to Arizona and getting worked out whatever wasn't working right, and just not getting down, not quitting, being resilient. And I keep hearing people call him the face of the franchise, and I'm thinking, gosh, the face of the franchise wasn't even here in the first half.
Right.
And on the flip side, do you remember who their opening day starter was?
It was Sean Burke, right?
Yep, who's not here
He's
right
not
now,
even
who
on the
hasn't been
team.
here for like a month. Your opening day starter is not even on your team right now with all the September call-ups and everything. So I hope he gets it together in the offseason and next year is back to the guy we saw in the first half. But
Yeah.
the fact that this offense is scoring so many runs, if I were these pitchers, I would be doing everything I can to pitch 5 innings, to be in line for a win, to be out there when they're rallying in the late innings. It means so much more to the pitchers to have these guys showing up. Once they started scoring runs in the second half, I think it was just a domino effect. Once they said, oh my gosh, we can come back and win a game in the 9th inning when we were trailing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, how long has that been? Once they started like crossing off some of those things, oh, they haven't done this in that many years. And once they started crossing those things off and knocking down those hurdles, I think this young team is just like, why not us? And that's where I hope they carry it the next year or two, is that, you know, they're growing together. They're not, it's almost like they don't know any better. Like they don't know to be, oh, woe is us. We're the redheaded stepchild in town. They're just like, cool, I made the big leagues. And I think that's fun to watch.
It's really fun to watch. And I think they don't quite carry the weight, I don't think, of 2024 because the team looks so different and feels so different. So I think they've kind of, it seems anyway, that they've just kind of shook that off and are like, that wasn't us, you know, that was them. And while there's a few of them left over, like Benny and Luis and stuff, but I think Benny and Luis have kind of folded into the young guys and the energy and all of the momentum that they've brought, because I have definitely seen Andrew Benintendi and Luis Robert Jr. smiling more in the dugout, especially this second half of the season, than I can remember with Robert from like 2023 when he was, on fire and just, couldn't stop hitting the ball. But Andrew Benintendi, like, I don't ever think I've seen Andrew Benintendi happy. He's looked miserable like his entire existence in Chicago. But you do see him like just kind of joking around a little bit in the club, in the dugout, and he's been doing a lot better lately. I mean, he's probably still, wouldn't say playing to his $75 million man capabilities, but he's also not like, oh my gosh, I want to like I want him to go away. I think that that feeling is a little less intense from Sox fans right now.
Agree 100%. And you can't, well, I guess you could, but you're not looking to purge every single player who's played more than like 2 years of baseball. You're looking to have some veteran presence as you're bringing these young guys up. And whether it's Benintendi or Miguel Vargas or whomever, you want to have a little bit of guys with some experience and some point of reference on, oh, well, what's it like when you're grinding through 162 games? Or, how do I keep my body healthy? Things like that. I love the idea of a guy like Benintendi kind of being like the big brother to these guys. And the other thing I really love, and I know you and I have talked before about the great chemistry on this team, I love seeing them hang out together off the field. They were at the Bears game on Monday night. And I love the idea that there doesn't seem to be clickiness in the dugout. that I've seen
Yeah.
in years past, where it's like, okay, here are the Latin players, and here are, the young frat boy looking guys. It just seems much more seamless right now. And I hope that builds chemistry beyond what we've already seen.
Yeah, like the cute little shots of Colson and Luis like bonding.
Yep.
It's just like it's just so sweet. Like it melts my mom heart. I'm just like, oh, I mean, just two totally completely different different players from different worlds, different ages, and like the fact that they have their like little bro handshake and stuff. Like I just love that.
Yes.
It like broke my heart that Luis got hurt because I was like, I think he was really, really feeling it with these young guys. So
Yeah.
so I just on that real quick, where are you at on the bring Luis back? Don't bring Luis back. Where are you at?
I'm on the bring him back.
Okay.
I feel like it's not that big of an investment.
No, not
and
really.
like you said, he was playing so much better. And I felt the same way you did. I was crushed. I thought, oh, he's having fun.
Yeah.
He'd get on base and you'd see him at first base just laughing and smiling, and he looked so relaxed. And I think part of it was also the trade deadline had passed.
Yep.
He didn't go anywhere, so he knew he was staying here for the rest of the season. I think he was just looking so much more like the Luis we used to know. For him to get hurt, you're right, it broke my heart too.
Yeah.
Especially because I think he liked being around this team. I think he liked being in the dugout. You could see last year when the guys were like, I don't even want to go to the park. I'm just going to sit here and mope. My husband and I still laugh about when they first got Miguel Vargas last year, and there was a shot of him in the dugout, and he was like,
yeah,
he just looked like
miserable, didn't he?
Yes, he was in the corner over by like the bat rack, and he just looked like, what am I doing here? What did I do to deserve this? And now when you see him smiling this season, you're like, okay, thank you for believing that things would get better. Not that he had a choice, but he doesn't look like the same guy. He really doesn't. So I love what I see from the enthusiasm and the bonding. I will say this on a tangent, because I love whenever the Sox put out the pictures of like, hey, they all went to the Bulls game together. They went to the Bears game together. Love it. Memo to the White Sox: you will help build your fan base if you put the names of the players somewhere in the post.
Yeah.
Because even as somebody who watches every Sox game, when they showed the 5 of them the other night at Soldier Field, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know Montgomery and okay, yeah, there's Kyle Teal. Like I could kind of, but there were 1 or 2 where I'm like,
yes,
I don't know, just tell me who that is. And as somebody who watches the Sox, and I know it's, a lot of call up guys and whatever, but if the White Sox would just put like, hey, A, B, C, D, E players bonding at Soldier Field or something, or hashtag them, or, whatever, somehow identify who they are. Because then you're going to have people who are interested in who are these guys and what's this team doing, with the youth movement. You are going to have people learning who they are. And the Sox have been so good at that this year, with all the emphasis on let's see what's going on in the minors, and, Chuck Garfien and Connor McKnight talking to these guys and getting people to know their personalities. They need to keep running with that, whether it's a commercial they're running. I mean, yes, I know Davis Martin is the one who says, I am not cut out for Hollywood. I've seen the commercial enough. I know what Davis Martin looks like. But stuff like that, I wouldn't mind a little like graphic on the bottom, just identifying these guys. And if I'm saying that as a Sox fan, casual fan must be like, who the heck is this?
Julie, it's so funny because I had the exact same thing happen. I looked at the picture because my son was like, oh, Mom, did you see they all went to the Bears game? And I was like, oh, yeah. And then like he showed me the picture and I'm like, Sage, who is that? He's like, Curtis Mead. I'm like, okay, like I should know what Curtis Mead looks like, but I don't, because he hasn't been here that long, and like player in a baseball uniform, then not in a baseball uniform, it's confusing. Yep. So yes, if people, so attention White Sox, if people like myself and Julie are telling you that we need players' names, we need players' names. Please.
And I, you know what? I knew who Mead was. I was proud of myself. I still don't know who the guy was. He was like, he's got like kind of dark curly-ish hair, and he was wearing like a cream colored jacket or something. I still don't know who that was.
Was that Corey Lee?
Like he looked, might have been. Okay. Yeah. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no, that's not Davis Martin. I'm like trying to go through my Rolodex of like what their
Is it?
hairstyles
Yeah.
look like. And
So
so,
yes.
yeah, I'm glad it wasn't just me.
No,
And
it wasn't.
you
Like
want to get behind
exact
this.
same
You want to
conversation.
celebrate it. Yes.
And like
Yes.
we
So,
we are such diehard fans. Like we live, eat, breathe, sleep these White Sox people, and we
yes.
can't keep them all straight when they're brand new. So please tell us who they
Yes.
are.
Exactly. And I'm also going to ask you, since I'm talking about watching all the Sox promos and commercials and all that, the one where they're talking about when Colson Montgomery gets called up and
Mhm.
his dad says, like, it happened or we did, or I think it's it happened. Every time I see his dad, he's like in the press box at the park or whatever. Every time I see his dad get teary eyed, I get teary eyed. I've seen the commercial like 100 times, and I'm still like, here's where his dad is gonna cry every time.
Yeah.
So, White Sox are pushing the right buttons. But yeah, I can't wait till next year where I'm not like getting all weepy over a White Sox commercial because dad's proud that his son got called up. It's still a great story. I love the Sox families. I love seeing them post on Twitter that, hey, we're at the game. I think I've told you I love Shane Smith's sisters.
Hmm.
I just love that they're very all in. And maybe because their relatives are so young, maybe
Right.
a lot of the parents are here or the sisters are here because these guys are such babies.
Yes.
But I love seeing that it's become a family atmosphere around the Sox organization. And I hope it stays that way. I hope they all just embrace Chicago the way Chicago is starting to embrace them.
Yes.
And that their players, their family members who are on the team want to stay here partly because they feel so welcome.
Yeah. And well, I mean, get ready because I think next season there's a pretty good chance of a lot more rookies coming up too. So there's going to be even more videos, I think, because we could have Braden Montgomery,
Yes.
Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith. I
Yep.
mean, Tyler Schweitzer. I mean, we could have all kinds of Shane Murphy. I mean, it just kind of like goes on and on. Like
Mhm.
there are like guys like are right there. And I think a lot of them will get a shot in spring training. And so
Mhm.
we could have just like this unbelievable influx of young guys in the spring. So get your Kleenex ready, Julie.
Okay, Connor, you're not allowed to do any more of these interviews. I really do. I love when they do like let's get to know the prospects. Um I'm ready for it. Was your heart in your throat like mine was when I saw something come across on my phone that Braden Montgomery was hurt?
Yes. Oh,
I'm like, are you kidding me? But thankfully they said it's just a little fracture. He can play in the fall league. But I was like, no, not the White Sox curse.
yeah. I was just
Just
more upset for him because he has like worked so hard this year and, gone from single
yep,
A to high A to Birmingham. And now Birmingham's going to the
yep,
playoffs and he can't play in the playoffs. Like that has got to be
yep,
such a bummer to him, that
yes.
that he's done all that to help them get there. And then he has that foot issue, but that's okay. Like you said, at least it's nothing major, but
Yes.
I was bummed for him. So all right, so we
And I'm always holding my breath when I see White Sox like alerts that,
yes.
so and so's hurt. I'm like, oh, which pitcher's going to have Tommy John surgery next? And actually, I haven't looked at the list lately, but I know there were like 6 guys at the start of the season that were like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go have it now. I'm going to have Tommy John. I'm like, boy, we've been talking about all these guys coming up as you're talking about that are contributing in the minors. There's going to be an influx of guys coming back from Tommy John
Mhm.
surgery. And not that they're going to rush back, but that's a whole nother subsect of people who are going to be here hopefully next year that we're not even talking about yet.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to that, to seeing some of these guys that had high ceilings coming into the fold next year, hopefully healthy.
Yes, yes. And there, like you said, there's quite a slew of them. And we need them because, as we kind of alluded to at the
Yep.
beginning, it like the roles have reversed and now we've kind of built up this momentum in this offense, but the pitching is like kind of come unglued. And so, with Jonathan Cannon, not performing well, Sean
Mm-hmm.
Burke, we definitely have some pretty significant sized holes in the
Yep.
starting rotation in the bullpen that we really need. Hopefully, some of those guys to return and fill in those holes. So yeah, just kind of talking about that. What do you see for 2026 and who's here and who's not here? We would like Luis Robert here. It sounds like both of us
Mm-hmm.
would. I think it's kind of an
Mm-hmm.
easy. I mean, they don't have a huge payroll. It makes a lot of sense. Just bring him back and hopefully you get him healthy. And because there's like on the free agent market, it's not like you're going to be able to go get somebody else that's comparable. I mean, it's going to be like a wash. So why just
Right.
keep your person in your clubhouse and move on. So what else do you see shaken
Yeah.
out for 2026?
You and I were talking off the air a little bit about who's going to be here when this team becomes a contender, when this team is good again. And there are certain guys that you and I are looking at that we're like, okay, you're just a space filler right now. You're just taking up a lineup
Yeah.
spot. You're somebody that Will Venable can call the bullpen and bring in. Honestly, they're all kind of interchangeable parts to me. There's nobody in the bullpen I'm really excited about, except my closer guy, who I'm like drawing a blank on his name.
Taylor?
He didn't want to close. He wants, yes.
Taylor.
Um, he's thank you. He's the one guy I think I want to see him be the closer, and I know there's some growing pains with that. He's gotten in there a little bit, but then there are days he's pitching in the 7th or something.
Yeah.
I get it. Sometimes games are saved in the 7th inning, but I kind of feel like Will isn't quite sure what he wants to do with him, and he isn't quite sure what role he wants to be. And I know he wants to start, but if you look at the teams that have been dominant teams that are World Series teams, they've had lights out closers.
Yes.
And I'm not saying he's Mariano Rivera, but you have to have an Eckersley, a Rivera,
Yep.
a Lee Smith, guys like that who are just shutdown closers. And so I kind of wish maybe he would embrace that role and say, like, you know what? I'm just going to be the best 9th inning guy I can be, and that's it, or whatever the case may be. I mentioned to you Tyler Alexander. I'm sure he's a lovely human being. Every time he comes in, I'm like, oh, there goes the ball game. And the game was tied, and he gave up a home run. And I'm like, see, there he goes again. I just feel like he's a guy. I think a lot of these bullpen guys are guys you're going to be like, yeah, nope, thanks for playing, but you're good, you're done.
Yeah.
And again, some of it goes back to the guys you're talking about, the lefties in the minors, and the fact that we've got guys hopefully coming back from the Tommy John surgery. There's going to be a lot of guys in spring training competing for spots on the pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point you can let go of some of your fill in the blank Wilson, which Wilson guy is pitching that day. And honestly, like, none of them are any good. I shouldn't say they're not any good, but none of them are special. None of them are guys where you're like, I need to see that guy on the team next year. I'm like, you can go. It's okay.
Yeah.
So, and I really do think like guys like Shane Smith, he can have a stretch where he's bad, and then he can have a stretch where he's like throwing one hit ball for 7 innings, 3 starts in a row. So I think that potential is there. And I don't know how you feel about Ethan Katz. I like him. I know a lot of Sox fans don't, but he's done well with the pitchers. A lot of guys that have moved on, he's part of the reason they performed well here and were tradable. So I really think he's got some sort of magic with these young guys that if he's able to work with some of them in spring training and get them back to where that potential could be, I think pitching looks pretty good for next year. Knock on wood. But there are those guys, I think we agree that, guys like Mydroth and Colson Montgomery, obviously these guys, the catching tandem, or now it's a trio. I mean, there are certainly parts of the infield that you look at and you go, yep, there it is. We got this. I am so conflicted about Lenine Sosa because every time I think he's absolutely useless defensively, he comes up and hits a big home run that puts him ahead. And I'm like, okay, you can stay. But I can't stand watching him at first base. Sometimes at second base, he tries. He's not like dogging it out there, but like he'll go like this and the ball go phew. I don't get it. Yeah. I don't want to waste a DH spot on him. I think he has value to this club, but I don't want to see him starting defensively every game. And I don't know what to make of that because it seems like he's a fixture.
Yeah, he's an enigma, like, and I think for like even next year, like it probably isn't going to matter so much. I mean, I think we're going to be better. I think we're going to be competitive with other clubs. I think we have a good chance of, maybe even being 500. And so we can still kind of monkey around a little bit with that DH spot. We can move the Caro, the Teal, whatever they decide to do with Lee and Benny and kind of do that whole thing. But then after that, it's like you got to figure out what we're going to do with him because, yes, he has value in terms of his bat. But if he can't, he can't legitimately play a position on the
Mhm.
field. You're kind of looking at an Eloy Jimenez situation again, right? Um,
Right.
and well, at least Planine is hitting better than Eloy did towards the end. But it's
And then there's another guy who's in that same little pond, and that's Brooks Baldwin, who again, like he's miserable in the outfield.
yeah,
He's just not good there. But then all of a sudden he starts hitting some home runs and you think, all right, he's got value. Mike Talkman was one that I thought early in the year, hey, this could be a really good fit here. And then he went really quiet. Now he's hurt. Um, so I sort of feel like that's another guy who was maybe giving you some defense in the outfield that you needed, but when he was making great plays in the outfield, he wasn't hitting and vice versa. And that's why I think you look at guys like Colson Montgomery that are so welcome here is when he came up and was hitting home runs in 4 straight games and making spectacular plays in the field from the first game he started this year. I feel like people went, oh, he could be the complete package. And please let him be that because we haven't had much of that.
yeah, we haven't had a superstar. I mean, we haven't had like that
Mm-hmm.
guy, right, since Jose Abreu, Tim Anderson kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Jose truly, is the last cornerstone because TA just didn't last long enough, I feel like. Um,
Right.
and we've
Mm-hmm.
always been that a franchise that's had at least the guy, right? Whether it's with
Mm-hmm.
the years of Frank Thomas or, Carlton Fisk or, Harold Baines or whatever, like Paul Konerko, like even in the years we were bad, we still had a guy and we don't have a
Yes.
guy. So if, Colson or Teal or, Caro or any of those guys or all of those guys would even be better, can
Mm-hmm.
be the guys like, yay, that would be so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, to have a bunch of guys step up and wear the mantle and say, like, I got this, I'll be our hero tonight. And I think that's what we saw when the second half started. And they were starting to put up these comeback games and putting up explosions. When they're scoring double-digit runs, I kept thinking, where was this ball club in the first half? And I think that's what we were seeing is every night somebody different wanted to be the hero, wanted to be the one who won the game, who got celebrated, the one who came through in the clutch. And I love that mentality and I hope that stays. It just makes it so much easier on the team, the manager, everybody involved when you're not relying on one guy, when you're not looking at the lineup, okay, how long till Colson Montgomery comes up again?
Yeah.
When you can look at it and say, oh, we've got 3, 4, 5 coming up and they're all pretty good or they're all on a streak right now. That's when this team will stop giving me ulcers over not scoring runs.
That and when Jordan Leisure stops pitching, that he's my ulcer
Oh,
maker. And like I feel
yes.
because I feel like he really does have pretty good stuff, in terms of what
Mm-hmm.
he's bringing to the plate, but like he's just so unpredictable whether or not he's going to have it. And like high leverage guys, they're not always going to have that. Like I get that. But like we're
Yeah.
talking like 4 out of 5 times you have it, right? With Jordan Leisure, you're like, is it
Yep.
2 out of 5? Is it 3 out of 5?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I'll walk into the kitchen, I'll walk away, and I'm like, is he pitching okay? Okay, yeah, okay, I'll come back in. But I just, same thing how I feel about Tyler Alexander. You're right. Jordan Leisure is one where I've been burned so many times this year. And I kind of want to get on Will Venable, but I'm like, what choice does he
Yeah.
have? I mean, he's looking at his list of who's down the bullpen, and he's like, no, no, no. Like, how many nights can you put Mike Vassell out there?
Yeah.
How many nights in a row can you ask him to pick up multiple innings? And I think that's what was getting frustrating with guys like Jonathan Cannon is if you can't give this team at least 5 innings, you're messing up the bullpen for the entire series.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you've got to go to the pen in game 1, and then the next day you need guys to go longer. So I really think with guys like Shane Smith picking up and having quality starts his last few outings, that longevity, if he can work into the 7th inning or complete 7 innings, I love that because it keeps everybody else fresher.
Yes.
And so I think he's been one of the few guys in the second half where we've seen that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think teams like, you're seeing like the Dodgers and stuff that are having that trouble because they have completely gassed their starters and their they're gassed their bullpen because their starters, they've had so many problems with their starters. And I think that's the same thing with the White Sox. It's just like our bullpen is not strong enough to, begin with, and let alone then you have to like depend on them every single night to pick up,
Yeah.
multiple innings. It's not going to end well. So, yeah. Oh boy.
Just feel like the White Sox fans' mantra: "This is not going to end well." Like, as soon as bad things start happening, as soon as they start making like errors or something, and this is not going to end well.
So you mentioned Will Venable. So what's your take so far? Now that he's had almost a full season, do I know they say managers really win and loss. Do they make a difference? I don't know. I think they do. Just in terms of like, especially now the game is so different. I feel like than it was, 2 decades ago, and with young guys, and it's a completely different game. And so how do you feel that Will has handled the transition, the young guys, all of the expectations, etc.?
I think on several fronts, he's met my expectations and then some. Maybe the biggest one for me is just that he has the players' respect. He's like buddy with them, but still can be the disciplinarian. So I love that about him, that he's got such a good connection with these guys. They all rave about him. And I like that he's forged a nice balance there. Like I said, they don't walk all over him. He's certainly he's like fun dad, but dad can still, threaten to ground you or whatever.
Get the belt out. Dad can still get the belt out.
Exactly. I was gonna say that, but that's showing our age.
It is.
That
We're Gen Xers. We're Gen Xers, Julie. We can say that.
Exactly. It was not child abuse. We deserved it. So I think, he does have that kind of calming presence over the clubhouse, over the dugout. For the most part, he hasn't made egregious mistakes in games where I'm like, oh, what is he thinking? Like I said, he's kind of limited with the bullpen because he's got to use who he has. There are times I think he leaves guys out there a little too long for relievers, and there are times I think he pulls the starters maybe a little too soon. But that's probably where I scrutinize him the most. I don't really have any issues with, challenges or things like that. I think for the most part, he's just very calm in that dugout, and he's got the guys around him that he leans on, whether, Ethan Katz, Marcus Thames, he's got these guys in their roles. Okay, you handle this section, I will oversee everyone. It just seems like he delegates well. And again, I just hope that the players continue to respect him and grow with him, because I think there is that advantage to being a relatively young manager, and they're kind of like his little brothers, his kids, however you want to look at it. There's just a very sweet relationship there. And I also think he doesn't try and like take credit for things. Like, you don't see him making it about him ever. It's always about his players, and I think that's part of why they respect him too, is that he'll shoulder the blame if he needs to, but he's not looking to say like, oh, I made all the right calls. Honestly, that's the biggest part to me of what a manager does, is fills out that lineup card. And after that, if you put the lineup card together correctly, you don't have to do a lot of in-game stuff that's going to stress you out.
Yeah, and I think that it helps that he was a former player, and that he wasn't a former player not that long ago. Being a former player kind of when the more modern game that we see today, than what we grew up watching in the 80s and the 90s.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And don't you think because Sox fans are all so scarred from the Tony La Russa experience, like, hey, Will Venable doesn't fall asleep in the clubhouse, in the dugout. This is great. Like, there's just, when the energy level was down here, nowhere to go but up.
Yeah. Well, this is a perfect transition point to take our little break. So listen to whatever our folks are trying to sell you. And we will be right back to talk about some more White Sox baseball. All right, everybody, we're back. See, said it would be quick. Okay, so thinking about this off season, you can make one move, or maybe I'll give you 2 moves, to put the Sox on, to keep the choo-choo going up the hill. What will it be? What do you got? What do you think we need to concentrate on?
Whew, that is a tough one. I mean, you could go either way with it. You could say, hey, we want a frontline pitcher, but everybody wants a
Yeah.
frontline pitcher. That's where I think, developing guys is such an asset. They're tradable, or they're guys you can build on as your pieces in place to grow into a contender, hopefully. Um, I'm not familiar enough with who the free agents are going to be this offseason to know who the high end pitchers are, the coveted pitchers. But I think pitching is always valuable if you find a guy who can come in and just be lights out. And again, with the hitting, I like the infield a lot. I wouldn't mind if they got a stud outfielder offensively. Maybe somebody to play right field. If you bring Luis back, he can play center field for you. If he's hitting well, he's not a liability out there. He does make good defensive plays. But I honestly, I want to make sure they go out, if they're going to go out and make any splashy moves, which we know Jerry Reinsdorf might not sign off on. But if they do, I want it to be guys who are like starting to turn heads. I don't want it to be the Kenny Williams model of, let's go get this guy I wanted 10 years ago. And then you get like Manny Ramirez.
Miguel Cabrera.
There were so
Yeah.
Right. There were so many of these guys where you're like, okay, this move was so yesteryear. But there are guys, if I had a wish list, if I could just like pluck one guy out and I didn't have to pay any attention to like contract status, money, none of it. Paul Skeens.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm going to dream big, he does have connections somewhere on this staff, and I can't remember who it is.
Grant Taylor.
But there's somebody on the staff. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep hoping, like, okay, could we do a little recruiting to get him to come here? You have to trade for him. You're not just going to steal him away from the Pirates. And I can't see the Pirates getting rid of their one asset. But that would be maybe one guy I would love to see them just go after hard. And he's young, so he's not, he's still on a rookie contract. He's not going to be commanding huge money yet. But that would be one that I think that would shake things up quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. That would be really fun to have a Cy Young caliber player on our team. Well, because we've kind of traded away ours. But that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. It's funny because I run most of our social media channels for Southside Sox. And like, I get fans from other, fan bases that'll be like, wow, you traded away your Cy Young, pitcher and da 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 da. And I was like, yeah, but like he wasn't going to be able to do that. Like it wasn't going to be worth anything here.
Right.
And so like this year would have been a complete waste of him pitching here. And then next year, even not a complete waste, like maybe like in a complete long shot, we could have like a wild card spot or, be in second or third place in the division or something. And so there's another wasted year. And so like we had to do it. We just had to do it. But to people from the outside, it looks like, we just like to give away our Cy Young people like Carlos Rodon and Dylan Cease. And, it's like, yes,
Garrett Crochet.
Giolito. I mean, you put those four guys on the starting staff. I mean, can you imagine if we still had Lucas and Dylan and Carlos and and Garrett? Holy smokes. But that's not the way baseball works.
Dynasty, right?
Yeah, that's not the way baseball.
And that's where you have to look at, I hate when they trade these guys away. I'm crushed every flipping time. But then I say, okay, well, they got these four guys back and three of them are already contributing. When you can kind of see, I hate hearing about, look at the haul they got. I'm like, if one of those guys comes through, we'll be happy. But when you have 3 or 4 out of 4 showing that they were worth trading for, then I get a little more like, all right, fine, you can get rid of him. But I still hate every time I see like on a national broadcast or I see, the All-Star game. It's like how many former White Sox guys were in the All-Star game. It kills me every time.
Yeah.
And then when you see them go up against their former guys, like when they're in the Yankees series and they face Carlos Rodon, I'm like, I love Rodon, but I want my team to shell him. But I hope after that he goes out and, goes undefeated the rest of the way. I still love those guys just as a fan. But when we're facing them, it's just crippling. It's so depressing.
Yeah. So just kind of we're talking and contention comes up, right? And so
hmm
do you feel like, based on what has happened since July, the second half of July, on that it's sped up our timeline at all? That, you know,
hmm
people could find us a little more interesting next year, or is it going to be, yeah, you know, I mean, the ESPN rankings came out. They were the other day, they were ranking like the core players for each team, and we were 29th. They said that we didn't have any, we did not have any. So all of our core were considered solid players. None were considered plus, and none were considered elite. And so clearly, I mean, it's ESPN. They don't even know we won a World Series, but,
Read my mind.
yeah.
Yep.
do, does it shift at all, come spring training? Or is it, yeah, the White Sox are going to be 29th, and that's where it's going to be?
You know what? If I were this team, I would be saying, let them underestimate
Yeah.
us. Let them think we're no good. We're not going to contend, and we'll just sneak up on people next year. And I could completely see the young players' mentality being like that. And yeah, ESPN, who puts any credence in what they say about the White Sox? But I get what people are saying if there's not a superstar. But is it different if Colson Montgomery is all of a sudden getting serious votes for Rookie of the Year? Is it, oh, maybe they do have a talented guy down there? I honestly, as we're talking about like when they could contend, my prediction is they will contend for at least a wild card next year. I do think they'll be a playoff contender next year. My fear is that in 2027, they're going to be really good and they're going to be in a position to be like a major contender, and there's going to be a work stoppage, and it's going to be 1994 all over again. That is my biggest fear for the future of the White Sox is, oh, please don't pull the rug out from under us. We've been through a lot of suffering. Please let this continue. Let them continue this wave that we're foreseeing. But I could see that being just White Sox luck.
Yeah, and isn't that heartbreaking, because you think about it? So like our parents, like baby boomers, and then us as Gen X, and like we experienced that, and it was horrible. I mean, a lot of people walked away from baseball. They were like, I am done. And
Yep.
you know, it took the whole McGuire Sosa thing to kind of get, you know, Bonds to get people back. But some people didn't come back, and some people have, you know, they're still gone. They never came back. So, and with, I feel like with the new generation, with, you know, millennials and Zs, they really aren't gonna, like, if baseball screws them over, they are gonna be like, peace out. And then you have us who are scarred. So it could do some major damage to baseball fan bases if they mess around with that work stoppage. I don't know what would happen to the sport. That's, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I hate even saying it. When people started talking about a possible work stoppage coming up in 2027, I thought, would they really do that again? Didn't they learn anything?
Yeah.
But if it happened, I agree with you. I think it would be just crushing. And even over recent years where we've seen the NBA become more popular than baseball, you know, it just seems like for the younger generation, they don't have that connection to the game that we do. And I don't have as much of a connection to the NBA. Once Michael Jordan left, I was like, I don't feel the way about that I feel about baseball that I would about the NBA. It's just a different animal to me. But I do think, as you're saying, the millennials, the Gen Z guys, I can't see them putting up with it if baseball flips them off and says, yep, no season. And I honestly, I can't. So I don't know if you know who Tony Giannetti is. Tony worked for the Sun-Times for a long time. She was like a mentor to me when I started in the field. Fabulous. She was like the weekend baseball person. She wrote for the Sun-Times, and she would cover the Cubs and the Sox, and she's retired now. But Tony, one year for Christmas, gave me framed her White Sox World Series tickets for 94.
Oh, cool.
And it's cool and it's depressing all at the same time. Every time I see them, every time I see them, I'm like, oh my God, they printed these. they printed these and this is where they thought they were gonna be and blah, blah, blah. It is so depressing. And if we hadn't won a World Series since then, it'd be a million times worse. At least I can be like,
Yes.
okay, they made up for it. But I mean, it's so sad when you see like, they printed these because that's where they thought they were going to be. And then there was no baseball. And the seasons where there's limited baseball, whether it's a work stoppage or COVID or anything like that, when there's less than 162 baseball games, I feel cheated.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think like during the COVID time, we were just so excited that like there was something normal happening that I think, we were just like, I don't care that we missed, however many games. We're just happy that we have something that we can watch, even though there's cardboard cutouts in the stands or whatever. But that 94 thing, I think really, really gutted a lot of people. And boy, oh boy, I hope there's people way smarter than me really thinking about this, because it could be really, really ugly.
Maybe we could start some sort of like write-in campaign to the player reps for each team.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're just two chickies here in Chicago and we don't have any pull or weight or anything, but we don't want you to stop baseball. And I know it's both sides have to agree on it, but I just feel like there's got to be some sort of grassroots startup, some hashtag campaign, something that lets baseball know, like, please don't do this to us. Oh, please don't do this to us. And they can both be stubborn and dig their heels in and say, well, we're not going to compromise. We're not going to mediate this. But really, if you take away the game, you're hurting everybody. You're hurting yourselves. You're hurting the fans. You're hurting the future of the game. I hope I'm 100% wrong on this. I hope in 2027, people are messaging me, whatever, saying like, oh, you dumb broad. What were you thinking? There's no work stoppage. Like I said, it shocked me when people were even putting it out there. And just with the timeline, I kept thinking that's going to be what sinks the White Sox. It's not going to be, it's not going to be, oh, this pitcher got hurt or, whatever. It's going to be something stupid like that. That is completely out of the player's control. And I hope I'm wrong. I do think if there's baseball, there is no work stoppage, I think 2027 could be pretty magical for this team, I think. But again, got to get a couple outside pieces, got to get some of these guys to, perform up to their potential. I don't know if you saw during the game tonight at all, but Colson Montgomery, Connor McKnight was interviewing the Sox first 2 draft picks from this year. They were at the park today. They definitely need to work on their interview skills. They definitely need Crash Davis to give them some cliches. They use super a lot. They'd be like, it's super exciting. It's super good. And you just forget like how young they are.
I was going to say they're 18, so but that totally makes sense. But yeah, you're right. Like, okay, you got to do a little interview prep before, boys.
Well, and you kind of want to say to Connor, like, you got to draw this out of him. Don't ask him yes or no questions because it's not going to go anywhere. But it was really cool to hear them talk about how they're looking at the guys in the dugout and saying, oh my gosh, we could be growing with these guys. We could be up here because the Sox have shown a propensity this year to bring up young guys, to say, hey, you know what? We're going to let you come up to the majors and get a taste of it.
Yep.
The fact that they're seeing that and they know that could be them in the next 2 years, I think it's so cool for them to be exposed to that. And one of them was saying how Colson Montgomery took him under his wing and said, whatever you need, you can reach out anytime. And it's like, exactly.
I love Colson.
See, there's your Melissa mom part. But that's exactly how I felt. It's not just, hey, these guys in the dugout right now are growing together. It's that they're taking these guys along with them and saying, like, I know what it was like when I was the rookie, the new guy, whatever. I'm here if you have any questions. I still go back to when they show it's the prospect show that they're always doing on CHSN, and where they're showing them like they're all. My favorite scene is when they're all in the kitchen. They're like fixing like a nacho bar or something, but they're all like dining together in the minor leagues. They're like sharing an apartment and they're all eating together and blah blah blah. And I just feel like that's the best part of minor league baseball, is that bonding experience. You're riding the buses together. You're bachelors living in your first apartment together. That these guys have that experience. And I know you and I have talked before, back to the teary-eyed Julie. I love when they show all the clips of the guys getting called up every time. I've seen the Chase Mydroth one a million times. I've seen the Chase Montgomery one, Colson Montgomery. I love it every time because I see that growth. I see that process of you work your butt off in the minors and you're going to the bigs.
Yeah.
And every time. I think the Sox have done such a great job this year marketing a team that, had a lot of losses in the first half and didn't capture a lot of attention outside of diehard White Sox fans. I think they've done a great job marketing. They're going to have a lot more fun marketing next year when they can create all these bobblehead giveaways of guys who are, hopefully budding superstars. And yes, I wanted to get all the old timer bobbleheads and plaques and statues and things from this year. But at some point, you want to see, there's going to be a Colson Montgomery bobblehead next year. We know there will be. But
and
you want to see them be able to
tandem, like a cute little catching tandem of
Teal
and Carol. Like, how cute would that be? Like, the Luis and the Eloy one.
I would love that.
Yeah, that would be like, people would be lining up for that. Because, like, it's really interesting.
Yep.
Having two young catchers, like, they don't seem to compete at all. Like, they seem to really like each other and see like it as a companion kind of thing. But fans are really like, boy, like, I'm a Carol person or I'm a Teal person, and they're very like adamant about it.
Right.
You're like, we're so lucky we have two of those catchers.
Exactly. I like them both. I want them both in the lineup.
Yeah.
I hate that they wouldn't put them in the same lineup because they had to have like emergency plans and whatever. And now that Corey Lee's up, they can put them both in the lineup at the same time, which I think is awesome because they both have potential for big hits. I think Caro's more your doubles guy and Teal's more your homers guy. I love Caro behind the plate because he throws guys out, because he gets that guy at third. He gets that guy at second. I'm not saying Teal doesn't, but I feel that that's Caro's strength, is throwing guys out on the base paths. Maybe Teal's better with a pitching staff. That I don't know.
Right.
But I sense that might be his strength versus Caro's strength. But if you have them both, it's a great problem to have.
Yes. And at 22 and 23 years old, let me remind you, like, that is so young. That is so young. Like, I 22 years old, like, as a major league catcher, that like almost kind of blows my mind that, because you always have these like views of like the grizzly, like the Yasmani Grandal and like that kind of thing, and it's like when you're thinking like 22 years old and you're like in charge of the whole, like you said, the pitching staff and the calling the games. And so they've got a huge learning curve still left that they can only go up, in my opinion, because their base right now is so awesome. So it's like, if you're this good at 22 and 23 and you just started at catcher, like it's only like skyrocketing from there, people. So don't take I'm a Kyle Teal or I'm a Carol person, be like, I'm a Teal Carol combo or something. We got to come up with like a cute little,
we need a shipping
Jennifer thing for them.
Exactly. I didn't realize Sox fan base was so divided about those two. So I will pay more attention to that now on social media. Didn't realize that was such a big thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw this out, since we're giving all this advice to the White Sox, since you and I apparently know better than Chris Gatz and any of the guys in the front office. I'm going to throw it out there right now. Get AJ Pierzynski to go to spring training for a few days and just like share his awesomeness with the catchers. Just teach them like the little things, the, hey, here's what you do on a drop third strike kind of stuff. Just to be like a little mentor. He doesn't have to be with the team year round because he's got his own stuff going on with Fox and with his podcast. But I think for spring training, I think it would be a great win for both sides. Like, I think it would be great for AJ to go there and just share his knowledge and his talent, and great for these young guys to absorb it. I think because he still loves this team so much, I think AJ would do it. I don't know if you have to pay him or not, or if you just say, hey, stop by if you're in the Arizona area. Maybe buy him a round of golf with Paul Konerko or something. But I think that would be great for this team to just have someone like that come in. And, he could talk to the whole team, obviously, but you've got these young stud catchers
Yeah.
have him be a mentor for a few days and just, follow him around and point out things they could be doing better and, things maybe he learned about how to handle a pitching staff. I think that could be incredibly valuable. So again, AJ, I'm putting it out there. I know he sees stuff on social media all the time, but he's right.
Yes. AJ.
I need the bat
Missing a
phone. I
ladies'
need to
night.
get to AJ.
I'll tag him in ladies' night.
He should. What? Right?
Like AJ.
I love it. I love that he points out when there's people in the stands wearing a Pierzynski jersey. I almost want to get one just so he can be like, there's one in every crowd, and that day it's me.
It's you.
I would love an AJ jersey. I don't have one, but the fact that he points it out everywhere, and
He does.
Gordon Beckham is also very big on that. He's always pointing out like the old jerseys in the stands and stuff. But I love that AJ is like so tickled pink when he sees an AJ jersey.
It's like yeah,
there are
dude, like
several
we loved
of them
you
out there.
Yeah,
It's,
like you were a big
Right.
deal here. We all loved you, so that shouldn't surprise you too much, AJ.
Exactly. And I don't think you and I have even talked since they brought the World Series team back for that weekend.
Yeah,
when they came back and honored everybody. Tell me you just didn't have like crazy goosebumps like when the 4 pitchers took the field together. And I mean, I wasn't even at the Savannah Bananas games, but when I saw Mark Burley was there, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know,
Mark
right?
Burley's my favorite Sox player. I should have been there.
I had FOMO big time.
It brings back so many good memories. Yes.
Big
and I
time.
wanted to go. I know the tickets sold out fast.
Yeah,
but they played that right. I mean, you brought back heroes. You brought back AJ. You brought back Burley. You brought back Canerco.
Yeah,
You brought back guys where people went, oh my gosh, he's here. And I just thought that was brilliant. I love the Bananas marketing to begin with.
yes,
But I mean, you got Mark Burley to leave his bunker, his like hunting and
twice
fishing and whatever. You
Like,
got him to come. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, I go back to this every time. If he wanted to raise money for charity and he did a signing, there'd be like a mile worth of lines of people who want to see Mark Burley.
Oh yeah,
Just saying. See, AJ hotline, Burley hotline.
yeah.
I got ideas. I got thoughts.
Yeah, when you have like icons like that in your, history, you got to find ways to use them, whether it is bring them into spring training or, bringing them to the park for special recognitions and things like that. You just have to, because baseball is an emotional sport in terms of like, I feel, the family parts to it and the relationships that, you form with the players and all of that. Like it is a very much relationship centered type of sport. So yes, White Sox, we're giving you so many ideas. You're welcome. Free of charge.
And don't get me started, right? Don't even get me started on how badly I want Tommy and Canerco's kids to be in the Sox organization.
Oh,
like
yeah.
They're both really good young players, and I like to follow, especially Andrea Tomei is really good about. I think their son's name might be Landon. She's really good about like putting it out there when he's like ranked in certain prep lists and things like that. I love following that stuff, and I mean we already screwed up with not getting Kenny Williams' kid. No, Alan Thomas's kid.
Yeah. Yes.
The Sox had that. They had this kid in their clubhouse, growing up, and I don't know how you dropped the ball on that, but I just love the idea if you could have some sort of tradition, something being passed down through generations of Sox players, because I don't think we've seen anything like that.
Yeah, I'm a big Tommy person, you can tell. I got Big Jim back here hanging out behind me.
Love it.
In Central Illinois, we're big Tommy people. So yeah, we would love to have Landon and the number one prep player in the state of Illinois. That's pretty dang impressive. So
So hopefully the White Sox are paying attention. I mean, I'm curious. I haven't asked you about what you think of the job Chris Getz has done. But now we've had quite a bit of the Chris Getz experience to evaluate. So I'm kind of curious where you're at in Camp Getz.
He's we did put like a a post on social media out, like what kind of like grade would you give him? And it was, as you can imagine, was like all over the place. And so of course I was like thinking personally, like, well, what kind of grade would I give him? And I think I have
Mm-hmm.
to give him like a C, because there's still so
Mm-hmm.
much left like unknown of how it's all going to play out. But
Mm-hmm.
the the framework that he laid out for us and what he said he was going to do, he is doing and executing. So, the
Mm-hmm.
development, the scouting, the kind of people they want in the clubhouse in terms of staff and players. Like, I feel like he said, this is what we want, and he is doing it. Now, will they
Mm-hmm.
stay the course? First of all, like, okay, once you have your framework there and you got it, then you got to stay the course. So you're going to stay the course. And then once
Mm-hmm.
you have done internally everything that you can do, then do you go out and you get
Mm-hmm.
what you need to finish it out? Because no team is ever going to be able to do it all internally. And I feel like for so many years, like, we
Mm-hmm.
have always felt that, we can do everything we need internally, and then we can go out and like half-ass what we need to finish it out. And so that's why he gets a C from me, because, C is passing. So he's passing, but I still need to see, I need to see it all play out before I can give him, put him on the, honor roll. How about,
See, you
how
said
about,
honor roll. I was
how about
thinking
you?
like dean's list. So,
Yes, yes, like, because, oh no, we lost Julie. She went away. Oh shoot. Hopefully she will be back in a minute so we can actually kind of wrap things up, because you don't want to just see my face and Jim Tomey's face here much longer. So let's see if I can get her back here. Yeah, so this is what happens when you have technical difficulties. This is what happens. Well, I'm not sure that we can get her back. So I am going to wrap up our ladies' night, and that we owe you, maybe sometime in the off season, a little wrap up for Julie and Melissa. But thank you so much for joining us for our 25th episode. And I think we will have one, if not two more episodes before the season ends for us. So thank you so much for watching, and go White Sox.